Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. Today we are going to be continuing with part 2 of Greek identity. What was the point? Last week we talked about the Trojan War, what started it, what it was about, how Homer set this down in verse, and it was just part of Greek tradition. So today we're going to talk about what the point and what the point was and what that means for Greek identity. As always, the sources will be down there in the description. Don't get mad at my pronunciation. I will pronounce things either anglicized or the way Latin would be pronounced, because that is the pronunciation that I use most in my classes because I teach Latin. So don't come get mad at me about my pronunciation. I apologize in advance. So, without wasting any more time,
Let's get down to business.
what I tell my students is it's not just what happened, it's why is that important? Because history a lot of times is just names and dates, and they don't understand why it matters. So what is the point of me talking about the Iliad? The point is, you can't really overstate the effect of the Iliad on Greek identity, because the Iliad served to define so much of what the Greeks, meaning, the people who lived in what is Greece, the Greek city-states, defined as quintessential Greekness. Like, every Greek boy grows up memorizing the Iliad, memorizing all the lines, and stuff's not written down, it's like passed back and forth orally, but you memorize the Iliad. Guys, that's like 16,000 lines of poetry, and they probably memorized the Odyssey also, but definitely the Iliad. And you can't think about mythology in the terms that we do. We hear mythology, Percy Jackson, and we think fiction, fun stories, whatever. But to the Greeks, this was not only their religion, but also their history that blended together. So this wasn't mythology. This is something that actually occurred. They really believed all of this. And so that defined them and their culture and how they thought about themselves. In America, we have this too. We're 270 years old, right? Like, only 270 something years old is our country. But think about the major events, some of the major events that have occurred in this country and how it defines us as American. And so the same thing with Greek history and the Iliad defined essential Greekness. The Greeks were deeply religious people, and the Iliad serves to demonstrate that as well. They believed in the natural and the supernatural simultaneously. Like, it wasn't one or the other. It wasn't science or the gods. It was frickin' both. So they knew that plague, it's a real sickness. It's a real disease that's killing people. It's a real plague, but the cause of the plague is Apollo. Greek and then Roman religion, it is not the same as our, especially our monotheistic religions today. It was about ritual, not relationship. It was this reciprocal kind of thing. You do this in order that, you don't get smote by Zeus. The Romans would say, I give in order that you may give in return. So no one is going to worship nights on Wednesday and singing Good, Good Father to freaking Zeus. Oh, you're a good, good father. Like, no one's doing that. No one is like, I just feel so connected with Apollo, and it just it's not about that. No one is having a super emotional experience talking to Apollo and, I love him so much. There's none of that. It's the gods are, you appease them and you ask for reciprocation. You don't treat them as your personal, lords and saviors. In fact, if you do, Athens will make you drink hemlock. That's coming up. And that's very different. That's very different than, say, modern Christianity. And part of this is because, unlike, again, compare with modern religion, the Greek gods were not a moral code to emulate. Greek religion didn't provide them with a set of rules and morality to follow. Like I said, it's about ritual, reading entrails, consulting the oracle at Delphi for prophecy. You didn't want to emulate the gods because they were really humans, but bigger. This is how easily people like humans or demigods like Hercules can become gods, because they are human, basically. So the gods are they're humans, but bigger. They're like uber humans. So all of the angers and pettinesses and emotions and desires that we as humans have, the gods have those, but on a larger degree. They're just more powerful. So you're not looking to them like, oh man, if only I could be more Zeus-like. That's not what it is. Instead, it's like, well, they're stronger than us, so they must be the boss. The Greeks also believed that their time on Earth was determined by the Fates, who are these three old crones that they spun the thread of life, they measured the thread of life, and then they cut the thread of life. The three Fates are Atropos, Clotho, and Lachesis. And they did not, contrary to the Hercules movie, they did not in fact share one eye. That is Disney crossing the Fates with another group of three crones called the Graiai, who did share one eye. But one of my favorite lines from Hercules is when the Fate tries to cut, Hercules' thread at the end, and it won't cut, and she goes, "What's the matter with these scissors?" It's one of my favorite parts.
What's the matter with these scissors?
There's some pictures of the Fates there if you want to see what they look. Yeah, I'll throw up pictures, hopefully I leave room in here to show this stuff and don't just talk over them so they're gone or whatever. So the Iliad also informed the Greeks' views on war and on the human condition. Remember, the Iliad is about those personal duels. So consider Achilles.
Sack of wine.
Achilles is this larger-than-life figure. He has this amazing amount of valor and strength and courage, but he also has these, all of his emotions are just larger than life. Not just his valor and courage, but also his sadness. So while we think, dude's crying, what a wuss, why are you such a girl? Get over yourself. While we think that weeping is not a masculine thing, the Greeks did not feel this way. So Achilles weeping is him showing and letting out those huge emotions, that incredible love that he has for his best friend who was just, cut down by Hector.
Sack of wine.
And Achilles does this despite knowing that he is going to have a short life. He's going to have a brief but glorious life. So he knows he's going to commit all these great acts of valor, but he is definitely going to die here at Troy. And so Greek men, young men, wanted desperately to be Achilles. They're running around, we're playing cops around, bang, 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 bang. You'll never catch me, copper. They're like, I'm Achilles, and someone stands and like, you can't kill me.
Sack of wine.
And no one wants to play with them because, the toughest kid always gets to play Achilles. We see this with Alexander the Great. We're going to see that Alexander thought he was Achilles reborn, or at least desperately wanted to be. So Achilles,
sack of wine,
he's the top alpha dog that all Greek men want to grow up and be. So in the Iliad, Homer characterizes life in Achilles as being short and full of pain, but also with these opportunities to exemplify your own personal bravery, courage, strength. The Trojan War accomplished basically nothing. It destroyed an entire race of people, and, Menelaus got Helen back. I mean, okay. But then when Menelaus, it's just a useless war. And so the Greeks, even this shapes their view. They believed in time, which is Greek for honor or personal bravery. And they would chase that. So they would acknowledge that war is often pointless and tragic and a waste of human life, while at the same time admiring the opportunities to exhibit your own personal skill within it. In Achilles, and with his many faults, they would see and condemn acting without thinking, acting irrationally, being a slave to your emotions like Achilles, while at the same time admiring someone who just charges into the fray and is just this Hulk Ragnarok of a figure that's just tearing through all of the enemies. The Iliad also shows that even the top dogs, Agamemnon, has to bow to the will of the people. Agamemnon is in charge, but when all of the assembly gathered and was like, Agamemnon, you got to give that girl back. Seriously, we are all dying. This sets a precedent for these city-states to understand that they cannot long ignore the will of the masses. And because one of the mottos in the Iliad is let your motto be I lead, strive to be the best. It inspires it inspired this competitive spirit, not only within the men within each Greek city-state, but also among the city-states themselves. So they were all competing always to be the best, and they all thought that they were the best. And many of their stars rose and fell, and it could certainly go to a toxic level of competition. You got these men are like competing with each other, and you hate your enemy, but at least, so for example, you hate this guy, but at least this guy's Athenian. At least he's not Sparta. So you hate all your opponents here, but at least they're not from one of the different city-states, like Sparta, because anyone in this city is better than any of the crappy Spartans or the friggin' Corinthians. And this, you're going to see this over and over. This is why it's important, because time and time again, we see that the Greeks are so independently minded that they can't, for the life of them, agree and work together on anything, with very few exceptions, because it's in their blood.
From your blood.
That they are better than all other Greek city-states. And the descendants of Troy are won over the Romans, but Troy was over in Asia Minor, which eventually gave rise to the Persians. So this also led to a long-standing distrust with the descendants of Troy, meaning the Persians, the barbarians, as the Greeks would refer to them. So you hate your enemy in your city, but at least they're not, if you're an Athenian, you hate these guys, but at least they're not Spartan. And you hate the Spartans and you hate the Corinthians, whatever, but at least they're Greek. At least they have the decency to be Greek. Not the oily bearded, bangle wristed Persians, as the Greeks would think of the effeminate East. So guys, I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that that helps you understand kind of where the Greek mindset was. As we next time we'll go into the next ones, we'll get an overview on Athens, and then on Sparta, and then on Persia, which are the three main players here in. We're really going to start, we'll cover some things, but most of the history is going to start here right at the beginning of the 5th century BC. We'll do some stuff prior to that. I hope you found this interesting. If, as always, remember, if there's anything you hear that you want to know more about, I won't touch on a lot of Greek life stuff on what things were like there, but I can always take a break if I just need a break from the history videos to just delve into another topic, or if I didn't expand on something enough and you want to know more about it, I can do a bonus video. So just let me know in the comments if there's anything that I talked about that you'd like to know more about, or something you're looking forward to me talking about in the future. Guys, thank you so much I hope you're enjoying these videos. As always, information about my Patreon and Discord is down in the description, and I'll see you next time, guys.